Hey everyone, thanks for tuning into Electric Bike Journal. You guessed it, we are here talking about the new Onyx ST from Mokwheel. It's a step-through frame, fat tire, full suspension, mid-drive electric bike with a lot of cool features and honestly quite a few things that have surprised us so far. So stay tuned to find out if this is going to be the right bike for you. The Mokwheel Onyx ST comes in 3 different colors. We have this cool camo color here. Now it does have a retail price of $4,099. It's on sale for I think $32.99 at the time of filming. It has a 48-volt battery, 940-ish watt hours. So a lot of capacity, getting you up to about 80 miles of range. This uses a truck run mid-drive. This mid-drive uses a torque and a cadence sensor logic that they have tuned specifically for them and how they have this bike designed. Aluminum frame, it is full suspension. We have a kind of a dual crown fork up front. It sits on 26 by 4-inch wide fat tires. So on sandy, beachy stuff like this, ideal. Hydraulic disc brakes from Tektro. They have a brake cutoff switch integrated into them. This is something I like to see along with the UL certification on the battery. Now, as a mid-drive electric bike, the drivetrain is really important. This uses a Shimano Cues 10-speed, which is a drivetrain that Shimano came out with that was specifically designed with e-bikes in mind. It's not necessarily designed for e-bikes or regular bikes. They just designed it to a standard that was able to live up to the demand of what an e-bike would put it through. Some fun little details here on the Onyx. We have a lever underneath the saddle there as a little manual dropper post, about a couple inches there. Not a lot, but just enough. Grips are from Mokwheel. These are nice faux leather, double locking with a cool little pad on there. So real comfortable on your hands. The stem has an integrated display into it. And there's also adjustment on that stem to change the angle and that reach if I don't want my hands super high because I'm shorter or I'm taller and I need to get those bars up at a higher spot. It's nice to have some adjustment there, which is something that you can't always do on every bike without changing a bunch of spacers or making a bunch of changes. So integrated in there, nice big LCD display, gives you all your readouts of everything you need to do. There's a lot of menu features too. This is a class 2 electric bike, so it has a throttle located on the left side of the bars. It's a thumb switch, and that'll get you cruising at 20 miles per hour. And this allows you to pedal up to 28 miles per hour. That's the general overview of the Onyx ST. Let's talk about some of the features before we get out into the ride impressions. Now, first up, let's talk about suspension as a feature. As I said, this is a full suspension electric bike. So we have the dual crown fork up front. You can adjust some compression settings there on this side, and there is a preload adjust on the other side to kind of dial that in for your rider weight. Not a lot of tunability, but there's some tunability, which is nice. And the tunability actually has an effect and does change how this fork feels. Out back, we have a D&M air shock. So that red little knob here, can unscrew that and put a shock pump on it and air that up. They have all of the settings in the manual to tell you kind of what air pressures you should be running for your rider weight. There is an adjustment there for reverb, and there is a lockout as well on the front, so you can lock that out if you're just hitting the pavement. You don't really need that full suspension to get moving along. A couple other features of the frame before we get into the really cool stuff. Bottle boss mounts located up here on the down tube, and back here on that drivetrain on the shifter cable, there's an inline sensor that will actually put a limit on the power, kind of hesitation on the power output of the drive unit. While you shift gears, it senses that cable moving, and that's a great way to prevent shifting gears while applying power and breaking a chain. And I know that's the #1 thing people complain about with mid-drives is that, oh, they break chains all the time. I don't think it's a big issue, but it's cool that that sensor's there. I've seen that on a few bikes now. That might become a new standard. I hope more brands pay attention to that because it is a great way to prevent additional wear and tear on that chain and help you to keep riding. Because as a mid-drive, if your chain breaks, you're disconnected fully and you can't even pedal anywhere. You're just pushing that bike to your next stop. So let's get into what we think is really cool about this bike. Well, something I think that is really cool with this bike is the fact that it's compatible with the power inverter that Mokwheel also sells. Power inverter is simply that. It inverts the power from this bike, the battery on this bike, and will give you a standard outlet or USB ports, things to be able to charge other devices with. And they have a case and a mount that you can hook it up to this bike, take it with you. Say you're going camping or you're going out for the weekend with friends and you need to plug in an air pump to inflate some floaties to hit the river or go to the lake. This bike, plug in that inverter and you're gonna be able to power those devices. And in addition, if you have the solar panel kits, which wouldn't do anything right now as the sun's going away, you can plug the solar panel kits into the inverter and then use your charger to charge up the bike. So there's a cool ecosystem within that a lot of bikes don't have. I would say most every bike doesn't have that ecosystem of bi-directional option to use the bike to charge devices or power devices, or use the solar panel to power things back and charge up your bike. It's a cool feature, cool integration. I think that it is something that makes sense for who ultimately we think this bike is for. And you gotta stay to the end to find out what we think. And I'm sure you're making guesses or you came in already having your thoughts. But for now, let's get into the riding and see how this thing does. Just talking about riding a fat tire bike on super loose terrain. As you can see here, river rock. This is something that I wouldn't do on a gravel bike or something with skinny tires. It's gonna be all over the place. And when it comes to traction, riding across this sand and keeping the bike stable and smooth, it's not struggling at all. Big fat tire bikes are gonna be able to help you ride on this sort of stuff with ease. And that's why they're out there for riding on beaches and maybe even some snow. Additionally, they're able to be pretty comfortable, which this one is. I got that full suspension working and dialed in for me, and I could ride seated down and really have quite a bit of fun. Yeah, let's get into a higher pedal assist mode here. See how it goes. As I was saying about the torque sensor, if I am gonna pedal in harder and I need that extra power, it's gonna kick on and be able to ramp up to aid me. And that cutoff on shifting is very quick, so it's a very reactive sensor and I really like that. All right, some slick wet woods. Let's try to keep things up and up. It's a little dark, I know, but hopefully you can still see. So I'm gonna come in at this hill and just throttle from pretty much a stop. You can see, oh, look at that. We'll go down over here, circle around, brakes and a nice controlled stop there. Let's see if we can do this side of the hill. Not quite. So I just went to the easiest gear, so quick spinning. Let's see if we can do it now. I'm up to speed much faster. Burnout. We do know that leaves are playing a part of traction here overall. I'm gonna use the throttle here just to get rolling. And I'm pedaling. Now with that hill back there, I was able to tackle that both sides different ways. But on the steeper side, the throttle was suffering, and that's because it does depend a little bit more on the cadence side of things and supplying power. And the way it ramps up the power and delivers it did make it hard to keep that traction on the rear tire, and I had to deal with some burnouts. Switching over to that steeper side, keeping it in pedal assist mode 5 to get all of that power, again, 210 Newton meters. And pedaling up it, I was able to manage traction and overall speed and let the torque be applied through the tires to get me up it, and was able to succeed. So says a lot for the capabilities of this drive unit. Let's keep riding and see how it does. We got trees down everywhere. A little jump there. Another little jump. 88-pound bike, definitely not gonna get airborne super easily. You can jump it, and you know, I was watching some of the other reviews. I was surprised to see some of those other guys out there jumping away. All right, so something I wanna comment on in regards to power delivery of this system with this truck run drive unit, as we're still logging miles and getting comfortable and familiar with it and seeing the longevity and durability of it. Now I'm at 28 miles per hour We got a little bit of a climb here, not much. It doesn't slow down at all. The effort I have to put in now to maintain this speed is pretty minimal. It wants to keep going. It has more room in it. So if you're looking for a bike that's gonna be able to do 28 miles an hour and just really keep going for miles on end on your commute, this is not suffering at all to keep that power going.
Well, with all the cool features, there are a few things that I would probably change or just at the very least want to address with you for your safety, something to pay attention to. Integrated display in the stem, that's fine. The adjustable stem though is not something that I love. I have tightened this down to the best of my ability, and that's as tight as it gets. There's always gonna be a little bit of play there. This is not exclusive to Mokwheel. It's pretty much every single bike I've ever ridden, probably my entire life, that has some sort of adjustable stem like that. It is nearly impossible to get that super cinched down to be tight and not have any play. Has it affected my riding? Not at all. I'm aware of it. It's kind of a weird feeling sometimes, but it hasn't caused me to crash or do anything different. This mechanical dropper, I recently talked about this on a different bike. It is cool that it's there. It's a great way to get that seat down. I feel that a remote dropper that has a lever up on the bars is going to get used all the time. Having to take your hand off and reach down there to pull that lever up and then sit and get it down, and then you have to reach down again to lift it back up. I think that limits and prevents people from using them. And at the price point, I think it's something that we could have done a full remote dropper on there and had a full system. So that is just my quick comments. What is essential and something they have done though is the really secure mounts on the frame. This is on the seat stay, 2 mounts there for a really solid rear rack, and then up here on the front, really solid mounting point on the head tube for a front rack. Those are great things.
That being said, before I get into who I think this bike is for, I just want to say that this bike has surprised me. I've ridden a lot of full suspension, fat tire bikes, hub drive, mid drive, all different price tiers, different funky features and things to talk about. But this one has been really smooth and really comfortable, and it is one that I wouldn't mind having in the garage as a backup or a spare for a friend. I do find it a little heavy, but for the type of riding you're doing on it, I think actually the weight, especially when you're off-road, kind of helps you in keeping some of that traction. As you lean forward or, move your body around, you change the weight bias. So that little extra weight overall, helping keep the bike planted, I think can kind of work in your favor. On the pavement, it's super smooth. Of course, it's a fat tire bike. You could hear the tires hum, but the drivetrain's super dialed in. These brakes feel great. I have kind of been on a recent run of riding bikes with brakes that don't bed in or lock in super well. So it's definitely refreshing to be back on the road riding something that I can trust the braking power and feel good knowing I can get out there for a 60, 70, 80 mile ride and be able to get back home. Super comfortable, we're having a good time. So let's get into who we think this bike is for.
We think this is perfect for people that are wanting to get an electric bike for the utility focused mindset. Something to take and go ride rough backcountry roads, hunters specifically, needing to pull gear with them or be ready to pull some stuff out of the woods. A 560 pound load capacity of this bike. It's got a lot of power. It has a throttle, hydraulic disc brakes, a lot of the features you're looking for. The big fat tires for stability when you have all that extra weight, and the full suspension for the comfort when you're out beep-bopping in the woods, getting out to those backcountry destinations. That's who we definitely think this bike is minded for and makes a lot of sense for. And that's where this bike's really cool. The cross compatibility with the power inverter and solar panel, that's great. It's an awesome additional feature. They don't have to ride all the way back to their vehicle, plug this in to charge it back up for another 80 miles of riding. They can load that solar panel and power inverter on there and take just that out with them, and along with their gear to be able to charge that 20 miles from the truck out in the boonies. And ultimately, I think that that's where the Mokwheel sits. At $4,000-ish, it's something to consider. There's a lot of details that you have to focus on, and a lot of things that, it's not going to be for everyone. But if that's in your budget, or $3,400 on sale or $3,200 on sale works for you, it's definitely going to be a super cool bike, and I think does make sense for the hunter or the backcountry explorer, someone that really wants to get out there, put the miles in, and bring all their stuff with them. It makes a lot of sense for them. Around town, just myself, I've been having fun, bringing a smile, hitting little jumps, and doing things, you know, in the woods that I would do on a regular bike. And yeah, I do it and approach it differently, but I'm still having fun. I'm still getting out there to do it and having all that power, being able to get back on the road, hit 28 miles an hour to get back home. Maybe we'll have a fun hour away from the home, trying to catch, you know, a little pocket of sunshine between rainy days. And I think that's what riding bikes is all about, is how much fun are they able to bring you, and ultimately how comfortable are you going to be? How much power does it have? Does it check all your boxes? So thanks for watching. If you have any questions, be sure to leave those down below. Do my best to answer. And if I don't have an answer, reach out to Mokwheel. Try to get one for you. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.